How do you introduce yourself?
That's the hard part. I don't even introduce myself as a chef, but people call me a chef. I shy away from that because I never believed in titles. So I just classify myself as a cook or someone just loves to cook. I'm Wesley. They're like, oh, can we get you to say Chef Wesley? I'm like, all right, I'm Chef Wesley from Bawang. And I'm like, that's not sure. Even when they ask me, like, what, like, tell me about Bawang. I'm like, oh, it's a food delivery service, or is it a catering business, or is it a restaurant? Like, it's so hard to describe it. Pandemic hit, got laid off. Like, I'm naturally always cooking, but like, I started cooking things that I grew up eating, and things that I was just like, oh, I'm craving this today. I'm gonna make this today because it's just my way of just like filling time and just feeling, making, just kind of making myself feel better and comforted, right? It's real Filipino food. So the dish that I decide to make is based on the mood, based on how I feel, based on the craving. Bicol Express, for instance, we haven't had that on the menu ever. But now that I'm making it, this might end up on the menu in the next week or so, So Bicol is an actual city. So this is like their dish. This one here, so it's got that like savory sweetness to it, sweet finish in the end. Pork belly is like the main meat for it, right? We're gonna sweat it and get the oils out of the pork, right? And get it to like a nice brown color. Then we set that aside. And then we use that same pork fat to cook like the tomato, onions, garlic. If you can learn how to cook with tomato, onions, and garlic, which is the base for a lot of Filipino dishes, that will translate to so many different types of dishes. Okay, I'm gonna add some liquid to this. And then we finish it off with some green, more milder chilies. I migrated to Canada at a really young age. I was, I think, 8 or 9 years old at the time. Came in '89. So my grandparents actually adopted us. So on paper, they are our parents. And I often refer to them as mom and dad. But sometimes, on occasion, we refer to them as our grandparents. It was really through them that I was exposed to a lot of cooking. Part of that experience sort of, rubbed off on me and translated into what I'm doing now. So torta is it's like a pancake meatloaf type of thing. If I had a barbecue, I would just toss it in there with all the charcoal. But because we don't, we just sort of do it the way my folks taught me. It's a good way to add color and like to create that like char burnt taste on your veg. You then start with sweating the minced pork, right? Once all the oils and everything comes out and it's almost like half cooked, then you just throw everything in there. And then you add some salt, pepper, some soy. Just let that cook for a little while. So just getting rid of the skin. We want to be left with the meat of it. Take it out from the crown there. Once we add the eggplant in there, you want it so that there's still a little bit of liquid. And what it does, it actually thickens the mixture and allows all the flavors to sort of get mixed in the meat. And then once everything is all nice and flavored and cooked, you set it aside, let it cool. And then once it's cool, then you add eggs to it. And then you start making it into like a pancake consistency. And then you fry it. That's how it goes. So this knife is like my grandpa's knife. So he brought this when he first migrated to Canada. Fast forward to now, that's about 50 years old, this knife. But he was proud of it. And he gave it to me, not like as like, oh my God, here's your, this knife, please take care of it. He's just like, dude, you need a knife, take it. Yeah, so I've had it now for over 20 years, been cooking with it. And I only realized last year that this was something more than just a knife. It was this knife passed on to me. Like it's so good. So our lechon is like a 2-day process. We start off with boiling them and then we brine it. We then let it sit in the fridge overnight, and then we have it prepped for the next day to fry. There's multiple ways to make it. I was taught one way, and that's the way I've been doing it, and that's the way my grandparents have been doing it. I mean, it's pork belly, man. Like you have like the combination of like the tenderness of the meat, and then finish off with the crunch in every bite. That's what you want. I'm about to deliver a meal to someone that's looking forward to it and just as excited. I feel like a drug dealer, man. Everybody wants their lechon fix, and here I am dropping it off. My parents would cook like very specific dishes throughout the week. Like he knew how to eat. He just knew how to do it. So it's actually coming up this month. February 29th is when they actually pass. Oftentimes like when I'm prepping in the kitchen, and like I'm always using this knife, and sometimes it pulls me back to like the connection between the knife, myself, and for him. And it's special. But he used it for everything. It was his everyday knife, from chopping veg to cutting meat, and here I am using it for the exact same purpose. When someone comes back with such positive feedback, not just by saying it's delicious, but the fact that it hits home for them and it brings them back to when their grandma or their parents or whoever it is that they relate that feeling to or place, I would like just cry. It's a wonderful feeling to know that you're sharing a part of you and putting yourself out there and being vulnerable, and someone receiving it really well and positive. So it's amazing. It's an amazing feeling.